I just went to maybe the biggest and best conference that I could have, especially as someone that does YouTube training, someone that trains others in our industry, and someone that's trying to give information to you folks that watch this YouTube channel. And that conference that I went to last week was called the HVAC Excellence Conference. I want to do a video on all the who, what, when, where, how of that conference in case it's something you may want to check out in the future. I will say that this particular conference is not really for homeowners, and I will even say it's not really towards contractors. Although I do think that if you're someone in our industry that is wanting to get all the information and be the most informed contractor out there, that maybe, just maybe, you may want to consider the HVAC Excellence Conference in the future. So let's dive into this. I had an amazing time. The venue that they had it at was in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, if you see this video in the future, they could change lots of things. They could change the time of year and where they're having it. But they did tell me for the last decade or more, it's been at the same place. So the conference itself is held at the South Point Casino and Hotel in Las Vegas. And this venue was really cool because it's away from all of that. It's away from the hotel and casino. It's in this conference part where they have all these really large ballrooms and they have tons of chairs. And at any given time, they were having multiple classes going on at once. And I'll get to all of that later in this video, but I just want to point that out, that it's such a overwhelming amount of information being given out at this conference. So that's the where. And again, that could change. The when is during the recording of this video. They typically have it during March of every year. So this year it was March 16th through the 19th. And so if you do see this video and you want to attend, it'll be March 23rd through the 25th in the year 2026. And I'll put a link to the conference itself in the description of this video if it seems like something you do want to check out or get more information on. But of course, dates can change and venue can change. Let's talk about the who. Who's there? Who's putting this on? And so the ESCO Institute is the folks that put this all together. And of course, ESCO is one of the folks that have a great reputation in our industry. There are some of the folks that do some of the top level trainings. If you want to get CFC certified, if you want to get certified in a number of other categories in our industry, the ESCO Institute does all kinds of things. You should definitely check them out if you don't know who they are or what they're about. I'll also put a link to their website in the description of this video as well. But who else is there? And that's the interesting part. So I will say the majority of folks that I came in contact with were some sort of educator or instructor or tech support, someone on that side of things. Most of the folks there seem like they were from some sort of school, maybe a trade school, a community college, and they were offering HVAC, and they wanted to get the information to give it to their students, get the latest and greatest, if you will. Who else was there? Some of the top level OEMs, some of the biggest and best manufacturers in our industries. Of course, Daikin, one of the sponsors of our YouTube channel, and the brand that I sold at my HVAC company before I sold it. Daikin was the largest sponsor there, and they put on a number of classes there. But it wasn't just OEMs. There were tool manufacturers there. They had a bunch of other exhibits there. That's the word they use. Basically tables set up in this room with all kinds of hands-on stuff, demonstrations, booths, and an array of companies. A lot of the biggest players in the HVAC industry were in this room with a table and all kinds of stuff going on. And then finally, as far as a who's who goes, there were a number of folks that are recognized in our industry as top level educators, top level influencers, folks like Ty Brannaman, Clifton Beck, who we have had both of them on our show in the past, Jennifer Manzo, Brett Wetzel, Louise Keller, and countless others who we will have on our show as well in the future, were all in attendance. Now, what's really cool is this was a 2.5, 3-day event or so. It started with registration and they had awards they gave out one night. Then there was 2 days of classes. And then finally a third day where they brought in the EPA was there giving the latest and greatest information, if you will. And of course, I believe the last day there was 3 more classes given, but the entire day for those 2 days was just full, very early in the morning until the evening of classes, constantly going on. And what was really cool is when I was a kid, there were these books called Choose Your Own Adventure that if you read the book, it would say, if you decide to go in the woods or go down to the lake, go to this page versus that page. And it kind of reminded me of that because at any given time, there was something like 6 or 8 classes going on at once. And so you could say, oh, I'm more of, I'm in residential, so I'm going to go to this class. Or you might say, oh, I'm more of a commercial person, so I'm going to go into this class. There were other classes like how to deal with people and how to be a better teacher, how to be a better instructor, and so on. One of my favorite classes I went to was put on by a gentleman that I hope to have on our channel to do a future video with, and he's internationally recognized across the world as one of the top people around when it comes to brazing and how to do it properly and how to show others how to do it. Stay tuned to our videos if that interests you at all. But what was really cool about that class is there were people sitting in that room. They had been in this trade for 20, 30, 40 years in this industry. And some of those guys were literally saying out loud in front of everyone, wow, I have been doing brazing wrong my entire career. I was taught wrong and I've been teaching others the wrong way to do it. And so I cannot wait to do a video with that gentleman in the future. There were other classes that were product specific, other classes about future things to come, and so on. So even if you're not an instructor, I would just say that if you ever want to maybe check out the latest and greatest information, this might be the place to get it. I've heard it jokingly said that AHR, which is usually the largest conference in the world when it comes to our industry every single year, that is where folks go to see the latest products, and then folks go to HVAC Excellence Conference to learn how to work on it. So I definitely think you should check it out. If you go to one in the future, you'll probably see me there. I definitely think that it's the place to be. I will admit that I have not been to every single different show or conference that folks put on in our industry, but I will say that this is one that I will be returning to in the future. So a big thank you to everyone that I met there that took the time to have a conversation or two. I learned so much. Thank you to all the instructors that were there. Thank you to ESCO Institute and especially Clifton Beck, who went out of his way in more ways than one. Again, I'll put links to everything down in the description of this video. Let me know if this looks like something that you may go to in the future down in the chat. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one too. It's where I share some of the best tools that every HVAC technician should have and some don't. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for more HVAC tips. We'll see you next time.